Content warning. Today's episode of Pop Culture covers topics that may be disturbing for some viewers or listeners. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hello, my lovely hummingbirds. How's it going, everyone? Yes, I have a towel on my head, but that is not the point right now. Welcome back to another episode of Makeup and Motivation here on Pop Culture with your lovely host, Monroe. Alright, y'all, so for today's episode, we're going to do similar to the per usual format of I get ready off camera, because I'm looking real crazy right now. But for today's episode, we are going to be covering everything going on with the TikTok ban, everything going on with Trump trying to eliminate the 14th Amendment, and so much more. And a little bit of everything really this episode, but also today's topic of conversation, which is history has a funny little way of repeating itself. And for today's makeup look inspiration, we are going with none other than the queen herself, Marilyn Monroe. And yes, I am partially doing this because I'm going to be doing a rated episode with this makeup look as well, which geeked. But yeah, before we get into all of that, I would really appreciate it if you were to join me in a moment of silence for all the lives that we have lost in the world of music, media, movies, entertainment, popular culture as a whole, including all those that we have lost due to conflicts around the world, but especially Silvia Pinal, Wayne Northup, Bob Breyer, Chuck. I really hate that I cannot understand my own handwriting sometimes. Chuck Woolery, Jim Abrahams, Helen Gallagher, Barbara Taylor Bradford, Andy Paley, Saphir, and Janice Jameson. Thank you all for joining me in this moment of silence. I greatly appreciate it. As I said, thank you again all for joining me in that moment of silence. I greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, the makeup look.
Alright, to kick off today's makeup look, not only are we applying lotion to our face, but we are using the Rimmel London 25-hour lasting foundation in the shade 303 True Nude. And do you see how impressed I am by not only the matching of the shade of this foundation, which I did get complimentary on behalf of Influencer a couple years ago, and it is such a staple in my repertoire of foundations. It's so good, especially for winter because I get pasty. But it is so smooth, it looks so silky on the skin. Definitely a good base to start off for our Monroe look. And for our eyes, we are using the Lime Crime Prelude Exposed palette. We're using the shades Unseen and Storm to start us off. On the crease of our eyelid, we're going to take Unseen, and believe me or not, but this is just the slightest amount of that shade, and I am already fearing for this look, but it is, of course, per usual. Trust the process. And if you're wondering what we're doing, we are going to be doing a cut crease for today's look, inspired by that picture that you saw in today's introduction, which I say inspired looks for a reason. Because it is not exact at all times. And now that we applied Unseen, we are going to buff it out with the shade Storm. It is a bit more glitzy, more glimmery. Also, we do have an eye primer on our eyelid. It is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. And it's really nice for blending and all that goodness. But look at it, flawless, phenomenal so far. I'm very impressed. I don't know, I always get nervous when I do a cut crease, y'all. I'm like, is it gonna come out right? And in true cut crease fashion, we are going to go ahead and reapply that primer to our eyelids just so that we have not a clear line, well, yes, a clear line, but also so that the blue that we're going to apply to our eyelids isn't like lost in all of the brown as well. And not only on our eyelids, but also applying it to our brow bone area. Because like I said, clean lines, y'all. This look is all about blurred, clean lines. Alright, and now for the blue, we are going to go with our So Jaded ColourPop palette in the shade Aquamarine. It's very pretty, very glittery, very... I was going to say subtle, but that's not the right word. It's very pigmented. It's what I meant to say. Look at it, so pretty. And yes, I am applying in a tapping motion, which, fast forward to the year 2024, I kind of changed slightly and did more of a swiping motion with this one. This go around of this look for the video today. But look it. It's so perfect and pretty and blue. And then going back to our Lime Crime palette for our brow bone area, just to help accentuate the brow line, we're going to go in with the shade Aphrodisia. I mean, how can we not use such a shade when Monroe is seen as such a bombshell? And now that you've seen me buff out this look, we are going to go in for about 15 seconds of past Monroe, just out here showing off this Monroe inspired look. Oh my god, it looks so good. It's so stunning. Oh, just a little side note, I did change the lipstick color. I originally was gonna go with this like pinkier red and it just didn't feel right, so we went with Cinematic from Charlotte Tilbury, and now to Future Monroe. Hi my lovely hummingbirds, what do we think about the makeup look? You know, love may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. This is not real. I am not showing up 2 weeks later being like, oh my god, you guys, I'm engaged. No, actually still very single. This is just the only finger it fit on. But I didn't know if I was actually going to re-record today's episode or not, or what was going to happen. I had previously started recording it before everything went down, and I know I've been going for like a couple weeks. And if you follow me on any of my other social media platforms, Instagram, I've been gone way longer, and TikTok, it's been a day or two since I last posted. So if you tuned in to Cafecito y Conversación, or a little coffee and conversation, then this is not news for you. You already know I have endometriosis. And you've probably tuned into these wonderful episodes, or you have even potentially caught, which like, still can't believe this was even a thing. Big shout out to everyone at LWC Studios. Big shout out to Julia for the interview. I got to be a part of 100 Latina Birthdays and voiced everything that I know so far as my personal endometriosis story, as well as resources for other endo warriors and just the struggle of Latina women that have endometriosis. Definitely go check out the episode. All the links for everything I have just mentioned are going to be in the description below. But I've been gone. Ooh, gross. We can't channel now. I saw 222 when I looked down at my Apple Watch. Nothing was near it for it to light up. I've got no notifications. Everything is silenced. It's also 2 in the morning as I'm recording. And if you're sitting there like, Monroe, why are you recording this at 2 in the morning? Y'all, endo brain is a thing, and so is insomnia. And I can't sleep. Mind you, I am going through waves of exhaustion and pain. So the reason I've been absent recently, I have been having issues again regarding my body, my health, and everything to do with just effects of post-surgery, of having endometriosis, of it being a full-body disease, and so many other factors. One of those potentially being prolapse again, and your girl's very, very just nauseous and sick and hurting and uncomfortable, and it is not a fun time. It is not a fun time. So I could not find it in me to record the episode. We'll finish recording the episode that I had started recording and then edit the rest of the content for pop culture for the week. I've been going through just real TMI, by the way, just cycles of like puking my life away. Thankfully, nothing drastic to the point where I would have to go back to the ER before my follow-up appointments, but nonetheless. And if you're like, oh my god, Monroe, why are you sharing this with us? Well, because we're going to talk a lot about what's expecting the country as we move into this next presidency, and your girl is pissed. I'm upset. But that said, I wanted to give you guys a slight update of everything that's been going on and just life, you know. I always want to be as transparent with you guys when it comes to my absences and like why I disappear and just the journey with being 1 in 10 and what it means, and hopefully giving a little bit of solace to all my other endo warriors or endo allies out there that you're not alone. But today's makeup look is inspired by none other than Marilyn Monroe. A queen, love her, God rest her soul. So she is the inspiration because, funny enough, not haha funny, one, I'm doing a review for the film that was done about her called Bombshell. I'm also discussing just how prevalent endo really is in another episode I'm recording. I would love to have my blonde wig on for all of this, but it is at my office and I am not as mobile as I would like to be at the present moment. But today's episode, topic of conversation at least, is going to be history has a funny little way of repeating itself. And when I initially planned that to be the topic, I did not think your girl was going to be in the same situation that I was 2 years ago. I did not think that was going to be a thing. I was like, well, universe, we got jokes, don't we? Do I have a skin colored top on? Yes, I do. Because of the Happy Birthday, Mr. President dress. Like, iconic. I'm so upset about this wig, y'all. I thought I had put it in my bag when I, like, initially... And, you know, interesting, right? Interesting how the universe plays out. Because I was like, why am I bringing, like, wigs with me to my parents? Why am I bringing, like, decks? Like, I have allotted time, at least a day, a week, away from work to, like, go and do my content. Like, why am I bringing stuff home? I'm like, it's not because of the cold. That's weird. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. I figured it out. I don't like it. Ooh, I don't like it. And like I told my mom earlier, oh my god, I was cracking jokes with her. And I was like, don't let my sunny disposition fool you. I am very, very sick right now. I'm so nauseous. But that aside, it's part of a pre-established plan that's not planning. So for today's episode, as I mentioned, we're covering everything that's been going on. So if you are not tuned into politics or news, hi, this is your weekly supposed to be weekly update of what's happening on in the world when it comes to media, music, movies, entertainment, popular culture as a whole, and just everything going on around the world, as best as I can cover. in less than 90 minutes is the goal that I strive for. I don't always succeed. So, Donald J. Trump has been reelected as president of the US of A, and I still can't believe I'm saying that. The Simpsons be so right. And I can't. It's just what are words? Oh, wow, sorry, this just popped into my head. Teehee. For all of the makeup that I've used for today's look to complete it, as far as blush and highlight and lippy and just everything, it's going to be in the description as well. So if you're like new here, hi, everything should be down there. If it's rare when it's not included, that's usually because I put little snippets of what I'm using in the video as we go along. But if you're tuning in on Spotify, hi all. What's up? I hope I was on your rap this year. Teehee, that would make me so happy. Oh my god. Already crying. So, yes, we go on a lot of tangents, and it's probably going to be so much worse right now because my health is what it is at present. So, he's been reelected, and I'm so upset. I'm so upset. So, the reason why his candidacy as president and now him being put into office, granted, we're like a month away from Inauguration Day, which that in itself is so crazy to me, but he got elected back in, and he has already started to say that he wants to do mass deportation. His followers have emphasized a enthusiasm for Project 2025, which is honestly, and if you don't have the mental capacity to go and read it, I wouldn't, just because it can be very triggering. However, I mean, the introduction to Project 2025 says, "This book is an invitation for you, the reader, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and Miss Smith, to come to Washington or support those who can. Our goal is to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state." And see, my phone was about to fall and just guffaw out of like, what? If that doesn't ring to like January 6th of his last presidency, I don't know what does. That does not sound very patriotic, in my humble opinion. And I know I have come on here before and potentially have said fight the system and eat the rich, and not in those words, but there is one thing of having whatever the fuck type of presidency this is going to be, honestly borderline dictatorship, to, or seeming like, to having a presidency where it is a democracy, where we can protest and argue and speak our mind and say what we need to say and want to say and fight for what's right and fight for people's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I cannot tell you I'm not terrified of the route that things are going to take, especially because Project 2025, it does have a lot of segments revolving around reproductive rights. It has segments revolving around the education system, around health, and it's scary, okay? One of the things that, like, and I've mentioned it on here before, that's been very prevalent, at least on TikTok, is how people always get, like, the very, like, far right, especially the women that voice out, that are like, oh my god, well, blah, 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 and your women's rights, and, like, God, what's that fucking word? Feminism and blah, blah, blah. That openly enjoy all the things that feminism got them. Like being able to have a platform that you can speak on of your own volition, like having your own bank account, like being able to take birth control, being able to go to your own medical appointments, being able to decide what does and does not go into your body, and having autonomy, being able to vote, being able to work, being able to own your own business, like being able to speak freely without having to look to the man closest to you for permission first, like, and not to mention the score of other things that have been gained over the years through Women's Suffrage Act and just women's, you know, protests for our rights, and just I am stressed, but it's baffling, the amount of, you know, I can't even say that. I can't even say that, like, the amount of support that Trump got is baffling, because it's really not. I mentioned last episode how, like, he was able to swing the Latino vote and how that was directly impacted because of misogyny and machismo and things of that nature within the Latino community, as well as just, like, self-hate or intercultural hate and things of that nature. But the same thing that happened when it came to Hillary, when he was running against Hillary Clinton, was the biggest reason people voted for him was because he was deemed personable, right? Because people could imagine themselves sitting down and having a cup of coffee with the man. And, ooh, what's his name? There's this creator that broke it down. Little Greek, I think, is his handle. I don't actually know. But he gave a really good breakdown of, like, why we do want politicians in office versus this outcry that has been happening for having the regular person hold office. It's like, we should want politicians that know all of the laws and want to do better. And granted, well, yes, our politics have not been the cleanliest throughout the years, and corruption exists, and false promises and things that haven't gotten done. It's like, it felt like a battle of lesser two evils all over again, and then we just went straight to hell, and I don't have. Besides supporters being enthusiastic for Project 2025 of his, he at first had recanted and said that it was not going to be a thing. He has since backtracked and said that it is very much a thing that he looks forward to, and so does the entirety of his camp or whatever. Another really big issue that has since risen is the conversation, and, well, I can't even say conversation, but just Trump's very heavy stance on the fact that he is going to change the 14th Amendment. Essentially, removing it is his goal. Removing birthright. He did say that, like, he wants to find a way to get dreamers to stay, and I'm like, but you're the same person that took the right of the dreamers away. I'm so confused. But basically, he said he wants to take the 14th Amendment away because they want to get at all the criminals. And, you know, when they asked him if he was going to separate the families, he's like, of course not. We can't separate families. That's atrocious. Send them all back together. And I'm like, does he hear himself? He does not hear himself. But okay, or he probably does, and he truly believes that this is the way to go about the country, built on immigrants and slavery. But the thing is with that, right? So his whole stance is that
they're going to take down birthright. So that being every person who is first generation, like yours truly, whose parents were immigrants in this country, which that has since changed, right? But we're immigrants in this country. We'd have to go too. He said everybody. Nope, it doesn't matter. Your parents weren't born here. You gotta go. And I'm like, okay. So, and we cannot say, oh, well, that doesn't have a line in racism. I promise you it does, because there's no way. Is he gonna kick Melania out? He said mixed, what the fuck was it? Mixed citizenship kids too? Like, meaning, say a parent is a citizen, but if they're birthright kids, well, then no, they don't count. So, say their other parent is an immigrant in this country, well, then all of them gotta go. It's like, what? And the conversation around it is just very concerning because, as I mentioned, like, as it was broken down on the Daily Show, how there have been so many different times in U.S. history when it comes to immigration and the laws around it, and who is deemed new undesirable, number one. And this time around, it is, sadly and unfortunately, la gente latina again. Because this is not the first time that, you know, something of this nature has been stated in conversation or talked about, or the oppression of the Latino community, as far as like back when there were walkouts happening around the country, especially in California, and students were getting beat for speaking Spanish. Like, it's not anything we haven't seen before, but it is something that we shouldn't be seeing again, especially not in the year of our Lord of 2024, because what the fuck, right? I do not approve of the removal of the 14th Amendment. He did say, oh, we're going to start with the criminals first. Okay, but under what rule are you deeming someone a criminal? Because that can be anything, from the biggest offense to the smallest, or whatever excuse is being put on, and I don't like it. That said, somebody needs to remove this man's ability to get on X, formerly known as Twitter, because he definitely went on there. So everyone's attention was very heavy on good old Sleepy Joe, on President Joe Biden, and what he was going to do with his immunity until January rolls around. And it's while people did empathize with why he pardoned his son, people also had this sentiment of disappointment of like, but you could have done more. You could have not only pardoned him, but you could have done other things with the immunity that you have until shit hits the fan. And Trump went and basically said that everybody from January 6th deserves to be pardoned, or whatever bullshit. Now that, I don't know, this year, election season just feels like a giant, I can't even say election season, we already voted. This era of the US of A just really feels like a long SNL skit, a badly written SNL skit. Speaking of SNL, y'all like my little segue there? So, y'all know Domingo. you know, direct from Domingo. I freaking love Marcelo. That skit for Sabrina Carpenter was everything. They did it again with HOTTOGO for Chapel Roan when Chapel was on SNL, and everyone's saying that we might get a Domingo movie, we might get something more to come out of this, because, you know, the sleuths on the internet and the super fans were like, we're gonna figure this out. And without missing a beat, the second episode happened of, like, the return of Domingo. So after that, Marcelo attended a short and sweet tour date for Sabrina Carpenter's tour, and he was the person that got arrested during Juno, and he sang his bit, and I was like, you know, if he were going to do a film, this would be really excellent marketing for it. It's a pristine strategy on behalf of SNL. So, that aside, rumors are swirling around that Sabrina and Barry have broken up due to Barry's infidelity. There was a TikToker that was, like, reposting things saying that it was her, and she was like, y'all, I was hospitalized. Like, I reposted it because I was like, this is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. There's no way people believe this is true. I was like, girl, why would you repost it? In my head, right? But I don't know, the jury's out. I don't know if he actually cheated or not. This isn't the first time they've run into cheating rumors. I think she confirmed it was the last thing I saw, but I'm not too sure about that. I'm drinking tea. So that happened. And also, Sabrina has recently found herself under fire, as I mentioned, Juno. Saucy song. Here's the thing, though. Sabrina's music sounds cutesy, sounds very mindful, sounds very demure, very PG, very... very safe for work, very... all age appropriate because of its boppy tunes. It is not. So, if you actually pay attention to lyrics, there are some very NSFW lyrics in there, which is why I be vibing to it, right? So, parents have basically said, like, oh my god, I can't believe it, she's doing very lewd acts. One of them, she was like, right, in the show. Things like that, doing different positions when it comes to Juno, and people are like, I can't believe she's doing that, what kind of example she's setting for kids. Look, if there's anything, my lovely hummingbirds, that you should have, we collectively should have learned, is how do I phrase this? When it comes to artistry, and this is just my humble opinion, there are different forms of artistry for a reason, and there are certain forms of artistry that just are not kid-friendly, okay? There are forms that, like, it's like when Cardi turned down the music, she was on live, and she turned down the music when she was playing WAP because her baby was coming in. That's okay, because she makes music for adults. Now, Sabrina has been very tongue-in-cheek about the fact that, like, teenagers do listen to her music as well. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I was not a horny little teenager, because I was. Like, you know, there's things where, like, there has to be open conversation, and if you as a parent, my lovely hummingbirds, are tuning in and you're like, no, I'm appalled at the fact that she would do that. It's her tour. If you're taking your underage kid to a show of that magnitude, well, there are going to be innuendos, but also you're taking them at your own discretion. Like, you know, it's things like that where it's like friggin', what did Lil Nas X do? Besides dancing on the devil's dick, like, there's certain things as me, a God-fearing woman, because I am a God-fearing woman,
Let all my witchiness not lead you astray. I am. You know, there are certain things that, like, I've seen artists do that I'm like, I don't vibe with that. I remove myself from interacting with either the artist as a whole, if this is just what they're doing, or with that specific song or painting or whatever method of entertainment that it is. If it's something that, like, really, like, fucks me up, then I'm not gonna keep exposing myself to it, let alone would I expose my kids to it if I had them, you know? So I feel like in recent years, more than ever before, there's been this, like, emphasis on those that are in artistry and media and entertainment are supposed to be, like, a role model for kids, and I'm just like, when did this become such a thing? Because and I saw it on TikTok, someone was like, let's not act like this is brand new, and Madonna was not out here gyrating on everything. And I'm like, I can't stand y'all, but true. Like, it's like Marilyn Monroe, for example. Love her, a queen. But there are certain aspects of her films that, like, are not appropriate for kids. You get what I'm saying? Like, while there are innuendos that they might not understand at a certain age, it's like, if there's something on there I don't want them repeating, I'm not gonna show it to them. Just my personal opinion when it comes to all of it. Also, she's a 20-something-year-old girl living her best life, having fun. She's a 20-something-year-old young woman. Felt like I had to correct myself there. I'm just a girl. Now Gwen Stefani coming through. Hey, why am I channeling? So weird. Anyway, I don't know. I'm like, y'all cannot seriously be so upset. There are bigger things going on in the world than to be bitching about Sabrina Carpenter acting like she's giving head on tour. Like, I just can't. So, speaking of Madonna, I saw a TikTok, and this is just completely random news for the day. A church was singing Like a Prayer, Madonna's Like a Prayer, and I was like, and we go back to not fully understanding lyricism or artistry, and I get the art of interpretation is a thing in itself. Y'all, that is not a church song. And I was dying because the guy at, like, the end of the video, he's like, bless your soul. I was like, stop it. That is diabolical. Stray Kids are coming to Chicago. Who wants to go? Yes, I am a stay. Teehee, I love me some Stray Kids. They're coming to Chicago, to Wrigley, June 26th. I want to go. God willing, my health will be okay for me to go to this show. I'm sorry, this concert. God, please. Y'all. Your girl's struggling. But, yeah, they're coming, and if y'all want to go, let me know. I'm trying to go. I mean, I'm gonna go regardless, but I like my ugly ass handwriting. In other news, Lady Gaga is joining Wednesday. So they just recently wrapped up filming for season 2 for Wednesday. They did a whole announcement on it. I saw it on Instagram. And I also saw the announcement that Lady Gaga is joining. I mean, we've seen her acting chops before when it came to... Wow, why am I blanking out on the name of this show? American Horror Story. Jesus Christ. It's too close to reality. I'm kidding. But we've seen her acting chops before. From that to the movie that she did with Brad. One of the Brads. Bradley Cooper. A Star is Born. Jeez.
y'all, my brain. So that, and then Princess Diaries 3, The Royal Secret, is out, and everyone was like, yo, they need to cast Chris Pine. And then they showed her like a picture of her love interest Michael now. The man is stunning. ¿Por qué no los dos? Disney out here being hella progressive. Why not both? But I'm excited for that because Princess Diaries, y'all. Like, how can you not be? I'm gonna go watch 1 and 2 right now. Daddy Yankee and Mirelis. Well, so he officially made the announcement that they are in fact getting divorced. He put it on his IG story. Here's a little screen grab of it. So,
Lovely hummingbirds, Monroe of the future. There are so many updates with this story actually, but that'll be more for later on, potentially next week's episode. In the meantime, listen to everything I had to say about it thus far. All right, back to the present.
Rumors were circulating for months. Like, this is not, if you've tuned into pop culture back when I talked about it, like, this is not new. But they did try working it out from what he said, and it just, they're not going to move forward in their marriage, in their union, which sucks. And like, I was reading some of the commentary online, and people were like, oh, this is what happens when you lean into God, you start losing people left and right. And I'm like, hold on. Well, that might be true, and the journey to enlightenment and shadow work is a bitch. Okay? Messed up. Like, they've been together for years, right? We don't know. My lovely hummingbirds, we don't know what their marriage was like. We don't know what was going on. We could only assume and speculate. But I wish them both well. I wish them a lot of happiness. I was like, yo, no freaking way. Like, they've been together damn near this man's entire reggaeton career. Like, I grew up on Daddy Yankee. I grew up on, like, Los Pioneros de Reggaeton. Like, all the greats. So it's just, it's, I don't know. I'm baffled. You know, I don't know. I really thought they were gonna make it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was like, there's hope in the world. Oh, this is just a feel good, and I thought it was so cute, and this is how you know this episode was supposed to be released, like, way before. Like, Thanksgiving before. So, Wanda Dench and Jamal Hinton reunited for their 9th Thanksgiving. That is so cute. If you guys are like, Monroe, who the fuck are you talking about? If you internet... We've been on the internet in recent times, right? And I can't believe it's almost going to be a decade. So there was a super cute story of like a person I think it was Wanda, she accidentally texted him inviting him to the Thanksgiving, and he was like, wait, who do you think this is? Basically, like, you're texting the wrong person. She's like, oh my god. And like, you can still come, like the invitation was still offered. He went ahead, and they've been celebrating every year since, and I just think that's so wholesome and so cute, and there's still goodness in this world. Amongst all the bullshit. But, oh, also, happy Mercury retro. Are we still in retrograde? I don't know, but we got a full moon this weekend of me recording, and I'm like, please don't hurt. So, Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco are engaged, and she posted a picture on her Instagram, and they're like leaning, and it was so funny because like obviously they set up the tripod to take a picture of themselves. It's cute, let's be real. 90% of what we see on the internet is not spontaneous and true and just like candid moments. Like, y'all remember when candid shots was such a thing? Everyone was trying to get like a in the moment like cutesy thing. I don't know. Anyway, maybe aging myself, but whatever. So they posted a picture, and she's like, and I'm like, because like, girl, you deserve all that happiness. Here's the thing though, right? back in August, if you remember, my lovely hummingbirds, I did a thing of there's rumors that they're engaged, and then Bieber had a baby, and I was like, I don't blame her for her and like her team being like, no, they're not engaged, because of the overshadowing that does occur whenever any good news comes out about either one, which like is honestly, it's, I don't know, I think it's kind of sad, because like they shouldn't have to do that, you know? I don't know, just my humble opinion. It's like, if any one of your exes, my lovely hummingbirds, like did something and then you had something great happen to you, and then your family immediately would attach it to, like, granted, this is not her family, it's just random people on the internet making the connections or whatever, but still, like, on a grand scale, like, it's kind of shitty. But they did, like, some insider was like, oh yeah, they've been engaged since August, they just didn't want it to be overshadowed, which, like, honestly was a good move. It just sucks that, like, people are so talking about it. Congratulations, though, regardless, to her and Benny Blanco. I know there was a lot of talk about, like, the way he looks in comparison to the way that she looks, but she's happy, and this girl deserves happiness. And, you know, I hope they have a long-lasting, happy relationship. I'm not surprised they're engaged at all. As a Cancer woman, fellow Cancer woman, this man feeds her. He is artistically talented. She ain't going nowhere. He can handle her chronic health issues, y'all. It's a dream. Like, I understand. She's really living her Morticia Gomez life, and I love that for her. And if you guys are like, oh, do not insult Raul Julia, I'm not, but I need y'all to remember that originally Gomez and Morticia is about the fact that Gomez ain't all that. He is not supposed to be this gorgeous hunky man. Like, he's supposed to look not less than her, but less attractive. Anyway, that aside, I wanted a whole little there. Who's talking shit? Who's awake to be talking shit at this hour? Sorry, my left ear was friggin' ringing, but I saw 4141 as I was gonna say this. History has a funny little way of repeating itself. So, the reason for this being today's topic of conversation, I just felt that, you know, in light of everything going on politically in the US and seeing so many things, also, that was such a hard gasp. We are going to talk United Healthcare and everything going on with that next week. Okay? But, I had that face because I ended up on a, like, TikTok scroll. TikTok's gonna leave us, y'all. I'm not ready. Supposedly. We'll see what happens. I'm still convinced that Meta, to some extent, has made a deal and bought them. But that is also for next week's episode. So, they're just not telling us anything. Next week's episode. So, ended up on a scroll, and I love history, okay? You've heard me say it on here before, your girl was trying to be an archaeologist. I love it. It has a special place in my heart. I cannot say that once you look at history enough, you start seeing patterns in said history. And one of the things that, like, this one person put, they were like, I love having my history degree until I fucking don't. And it's like they lay out essentially everything that's been happening in recent times, comparing it to the past and the patterns that repeat themselves. Considering in this country we are essentially what feels like going backwards when it comes to women's rights, especially in reproductive sense, when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all the damage that's being done to that. removing, which, like, granted, we don't even get taught full history in school anyway, but removing certain books and literature from schools and wanting to remove critical race theory and just so many aspects that really Trump trying to remove the 14th Amendment and birth rate, like, so it makes me itch. So many things that it's like, what's happening, right? In the journey of life, love, and self-healing, these tangents just get crazier and crazier. So, when it comes to the journey of life, love, and self-healing, history does have a funny little way of repeating itself. We talked of everything being a cycle previously, and how you repeat cycles until you learn the lesson, right? And that also goes in line with shadow work, and the universe will put you in a situation and be like, okay, let's see if they really did it, and then you end up having to be on leave again and dying, and it's fine. My personal aside. Today we are going to cover more so, what do you do in moments when history repeats itself? So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. One of the hardest things when it comes to the journey of life, love, and self-healing and all that gorgeous, gorgeous stuff that we talk about here on pop culture, especially on makeup and motivation, is the acknowledgement of the role that we play in not our own downfall, hello? In our own undoing, the role that we actively play in our own lives. And really taking a good hard look at where changes need to be made. So, say in the journey of life, right? You're out here and you're like, oh my god, I really don't like the way my hair looks when it's this color, and I absolutely can't stand it. And you're like complaining and complaining and complaining, but you never go and change your hair color, right? And then, as time progresses, people identify you with that hair color, with the style, with the cut, with whatever it is, right? And then one day, you're like, you know what? God, universe, thank you for granting me this extra bit of money. I'm gonna go and change it. And you do. And you're gonna have various reactions to this. You're gonna have the people that are like, oh my god, that has always been your color. It fits you so good. What did you do? You look amazing. Blah, 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 blah. You're gonna have the people that are like, oh my god, I'm gonna dye my hair that color now because I'm so inspired by you. Like, it looks so good. Like, I need some of that energy, girl. Yes, let's do it. In a non-envious way. You're gonna have the people that are gonna be like, oh my god, yeah, no, it looks so good. Like, who does this bitch think she is? In an envious way. And then you're gonna have the people that are going to be hurt by this change that you've enacted, where it's going to be confusing, right? So people of your past, especially, you're gonna run into them and they're gonna be like, what did you do to your hair? You're gonna be like, oh my god, well, you know, I was so sick and tired of having the old one, I went ahead and changed it. And the reactions will vary depending on the level of interaction with this person, the relationship that you have with them, the way that you perceive them, they perceive you, wherever they might stand in their life currently, or whatever have you, where any minimal change will affect them. And you'll get, like I said, reactions of like, why would you do that? To, oh my god, but your old hair was so much better, but this and that, but oh my god. And constantly remind you and tell you and do all this stuff of the previous version of yourself. I use the example of hair because it's the first thing I thought of. And I'm looking at my hair and I'm like, it's time for a touch-up. Which I can't even do right now, y'all. Can't do it. I'm so tired. But when it comes to the journey of life, love, and self-healing, history does have a funny little way of repeating itself for a few different reasons. One, yes, you repeat cycles till you learn the lesson. Two, are you going to put your money where your mouth is? This one is the universe saying, you said what you said, now show me. It is an opportunity for you to step up and show the fuck out, my lovely hummingbirds, as your most authentic self, as the person that said that they wanted X, Y, and Z, and are going to continue moving as the person that said that they want X, Y, and Z. Or three, a confirmation for self. And the reason that I say it in these ways, I personally look at the world as like mind, body, spirit, right? So it's like, is it mental? Is it, physical, emotional? Is it the good Lord above? What is it, right? When it comes to confirmation of self, I have found, you want to know how you're truly over something? When it doesn't fucking hurt anymore. I've been in situations where I've run into people where I'm just like, to be fair, and before my bestie's like, bitch, I've seen you walking down the street when you're coming to meet me. No attention paid. I do pay attention. But I do have a slightly aggressive resting bee face when I'm walking with my headphones and my sunglasses on. Right, I'm just like, woman on a mission. Where's my best friend? And then I see them and it's like instant golden retriever. But y'all know how they say you can be the toughest of tougher, be a biker, but when a little kid offers you a phone, you take that phone call. That's me. I'm just like walking down the street. Anyway, tangent aside. Why am I like this? No, but I've seen situations where I see a reaction and either I respond from a place of ego or I respond from a space of, well, that was weird. Okay. Indifference, right? Or hurt of oh my god. Have you ever been in those situations where you're oh my god, I really hope I don't run into this fucking person, then you run into that person? And the universe is those feelings you were feeling? Time to confront them full fucking force. So, and that has not happened recently. Thank you, God. No, doing pretty okay in that in that department, but there have been moments, right, throughout life where you will be placed in situations to do one of the three. Whether it is to have you repeat till you learn the freaking lesson, don't text your ex on Mercury retrograde, don't do it. Just because you saw a cutesy little thing of people on the internet getting back together does not mean you can. Type of thing. Or, alright, you said you want this. You have to put in work because you are co-creating with the universe, right? It's the universe is going to drop, for example, right? Say you're okay, I want to be a billionaire, God. And God's cool. Drops $10,000 in your lap. Free of tax. Right? What are you going to do with that money? And if your first and initial thought was to spend it, well then, you're already not starting off in the best way, right? if you tell the good Lord above, well, hey, I want to be fit, I want to get my health right, I want to do all this stuff, and they're like, period. And then you get time off to go to the doctor and start working out and doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, taking care of yourself, and you don't, the universe is going to be like, but A and B is not equaling C. What happened? You know? So it's things like that. Or confirmation. Say you're in a situation, your time goes on and you're worrying about it, right? Because a lot of times in the journey of life, love, and self-healing, we could end up stuck in a little bit of perpetual healing of wanting to, like, because to some degree, even the act of healing becomes a comfort. It can become a crutch. It can become something that you're so used to, like, oh no, I have to unpack something. There has to be something there. Because living in the present is so foreign that it is uncomfortable. Living in peace is so foreign that it is uncomfortable. And then before you're like, oh, I gotta unpack my living. No, you already unpacked why it's not healthy for you to be in a state of silence or peace. You know the reason why. You're just choosing not to do anything about it, right? In situations like that is a little different from the confirmation, right? Where you can wonder about something or something comes to mind and you're like, huh, I wonder if I'm actually over that thing, right? Say you break up with somebody. And whether friend or lover or business or whatever it is. I'm already channeling. What's going on? And you're like, you know, I wonder how I would react in that situation if it happened today, right? Or am I really over it, or am I just playing myself? You know, whatever route it is that you're feeling, my lovely hummingbirds. And then the universe is like, they're not getting it. They think they're not over this yet. So they're going to throw this person in front of you, right? Or put you in a similar situation. And listening to the cues of your body in that moment is going to be so important. Because that is what will tell you if there is another little bit that you need to heal. Another little aspect of yourself that you need to tune, essentially, to progress and continue your forward movement. Indifference can also sometimes be a tell of you are over it. Being baffled by whatever the external reaction to you is can also be a reaction in itself of like you are over it. If you're responding from a space of hurt, anger, sadness, frustration, ego of like, where it becomes that moment becomes the center of your universe for the next week or so, or like you become very hyperfixation is the word I was looking for. Then you are not over this situation, and there is a reason for history repeating itself. Why does history repeat itself when it comes to the journey of life, love, and self-healing and all that gorgeous stuff? Because it always comes down to a choice. One of the biggest things that I have learned, and not on the first try, and not on the second one either, is in this life, things really are all about action and reaction and the choices we make. Are you going to sit there and watch yourself be a passerby in your own life? Are you going to sit there and continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and then watch yourself complain about the same things over and over and over and over again because it's easier, because it feels safer, because it's really not. It's not helping you. It's detrimental to your growth. Or are you going to do the hard part? Are you going to look at yourself earnestly and be like, well, I have these aspects of myself that are actually slightly hindering my progress.
instead of doing this, I should probably switch out to doing this instead because it'll be more beneficial to my, long-term goal. There comes a point in time, my lovely hummingbirds, where you just have to tell you to stop. One of my skills that I learned in therapy was stop when it came to rumination. Yeah, I went to trauma therapy. And at first, I couldn't just mentally tell myself to stop. I had to physically yell at me because my mind would run a mile a minute against itself at that point, because it would deter me from doing all the things that I did have to very much presently do, but couldn't because I was so wrapped up in my head about all the things I had to do, versus being like, okay, you know what? Well, that's time for that. We need to take this one thing and start working on it. And once that's completed, cool, let's take this other thing and start working on it. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect. No, not by any means. I got like 15 active projects right now that I'm working on. And my health being the first priority at this present time. Y'all. Good times. But like I tell my sister, I live a fabulous existence. It is okay to have that little pang of like, oh God, why is this happening now? We all do it. It's human. It's human to feel your feelings. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to not be okay with something if it comes back around. I know around Mercury retrograde especially, and even in the shadow period, so many things just like zoom in. It's okay to acknowledge that something was gross. Like, even if you are over whatever interaction or situation it might have been, I'm channeling again. It is okay to be like, even though I am over it, it's still not my cup of tea. That's okay too. You're gonna go so far, my lovely hummingbirds, the more you acknowledge yourself, your current being, how you are, your presence with yourself, and how you bring that forward. When it comes to history repeating itself, it all comes down to a choice. Are you going to continue to do the things that keep you stagnant and keep you in a state of hopelessness, denial, betrayal, and all the negative, gross things you don't like feeling on a day-to-day? Or are you going to take the momentary discomfort and gross feelings that come with healing and choose to be better, choose to change your life for better, and choose to show up for yourself in the ways you keep begging the world to? It is okay for you to heal and put yourself first. And why Marilyn Monroe for this? I love my girl. And y'all, I did that feminine test. And if you're like, Monroe, what's the feminine test? You have not taken it. Where it tells you the type of like femininity level that you fall under. I got the same one as Marilyn, and I was like, red me to filth. Don't like this. But I looked at it and I was like, okay, let's unpack this a little bit. Marilyn Monroe was, God rest her soul, a woman that had a very high IQ level. It was rumored that her IQ was higher than Einstein's, which is baffling. One of my favorite quotes is when she tells him that they should make a baby together, and he's like, but oh my God, and she's like, how like wonderful the baby would be, right? And he's like, yeah, but imagine it gets stuck with my looks and your brains. And she just laughed it off, right? Because he didn't know she's a fucking genius. But she was a person that felt deeply, had endo, loved like no other, very talented, very multifaceted. But she spent her life chasing the approval of others. She spent her life trying to numb out her existence. She spent her life repeating cycles with one person after another, after another, after another, because she kept making the choice of, if I keep doing the same thing, maybe it'll be different with a different person. Granted, I don't know, I'm not in the woman's brain, right? Maybe. All we can do is speculate to this day, but... Or maybe she fell into, like, the genius kid syndrome of, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to hell and riot and do all the crazy things because it's so much easier than being a genius. Because at least then there'll be no expectations. And that's gonna be an episode of itself. Either way, she is the reason for it. The other reason for it is because, like, I've seen a whole lot of discourse online in recent times of, like, money being such a determining factor for relationships and, like, women wanting people with money. Why are we acting like it's brand new? We want to go back to the 1950s. What do you think was happening then? I mean, she did say diamonds are a girl's best friend. Anywho, my jokes aside, partial jokes aside, I hope you make the choice to be an active participant in your life. I hope you make the active choice to be the main character in your life. And I hope that you make the choice to love yourself, take care of yourself, and truly live for you as the most authentic version of yourself that you can. As far as we know, we only got one life. So go ahead and live it. You deserve to. Alright, my lovely hummingbirds, that's it for me, for you, for today, for this episode on pop culture. As always, les mando mucha paz, muchos besos, y les recuerdo que miren hacia la luna, sending you much peace, many kisses, and reminding you to always look up at the moon. I love you all so much. I'll catch you on the next one. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. It does impact me. It does help the channel. I will try to be better when it comes to consistent posting. But let me know in the comments also if you have any questions as far as, like, endometriosis resources, things of that nature. I do have an email specifically for that where I can send you resources that I have myself received, things like that, so that, you know, you can be better guided in your endo journey, whether you are a warrior yourself or an ally. But that said, my lovely hummingbirds, that's it from me for you for today, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!